stay right on that razor blade. Because it's in that moment all the energy is at. Which makes it super concentrated. Because you know the universe is a pretty big place. There's a whole lot of energy out there. It's all existing in this very narrow band called the present. The past is dead planets. The present, which makes the earth so wonderful, is its present. It's presently doing. It's not just a thing floating in space anymore. So it's in that narrow band of the present, which is why we can have a doorway in the first place, slip in and out. We will ultimately wake up and realize we're not trapped here. There's no one holding us here. These bodies can, if we lift the veil off of ourselves, we turn it into light and be gone. What did Jesus do? Where was his body? I mean, it might be a myth, but it's a great reference. It might be a myth, it might be real. Who knows? But what did he do? Took his body with him. Right? I mean, that's how the story goes. They roll away, the stones roll away, they go in, there's nobody there. God took his body with him, became fully present in the being, realized the freedom of being totally present in the being, what that brings, and then was able to go, hey, wait a minute, I'm not trapped here. He may be somewhere else entirely and totally gave up the idea of ever coming back. Because he said that as a man. When he became that, who knows who knows? He may be just going and going and going and going, you know what? No, I'm not going back. So the reliance on that is insane. Especially when you're the same thing as he was. You're a human being. Right? There's the blueprint. It kind of gave it to you. As they all did. It's the same thing. Same thing. When you are in turmoil, you go lock yourself in a closet. And you suffer it out. No one goes on a vision. It's not vision questing any of these guys are doing. They're suffering their brains out. They were being exposed to their own toxicity, their own toxic thoughts. So when they're out in the desert, or they're off alone in solitary confinement, they're not having these blissed out God experiences. They are shedding the layers of the hellish thoughts that surround them. And the more you do that, the more the light goes on, the brighter it gets. The more it actually shines on what your purpose is. You will never understand with your mind what's looking out of your eyeballs. Science is never, ever going to be able to figure that out. Because science is mind. Being, that's being. Right? The mind that dissects is not alive. It's not actually one with being. The real mind expresses joy. Because the real mind belongs to being. Right? And the mind that's faulty is the ego's mind. So, we're like two people punching each other in the face within ourselves. You're right. No, you're wrong. I mean, you kind of wonder if one day that it all becomes so crazy that you see people walking down the street, socking themselves in the mouth, yelling at themselves, yelling back at themselves. Because you have, the heart and the soul and all that's good and real. And then you have this mind and this ego and all that's hellish and gross. Passing judgment on somebody is kind of gross. It feels gross. Because the minute you're passing the judgment, the reason you're passing the judgment is because you're feeling the grossness. If you're sitting there joyful, and someone is being extremely toxic, you're just kind of like, wow, that's an extremely toxic person. But you're still joyful. You acknowledge what it is and you move on. The person who walks up and goes, oh my God, look at that. They actually are probably feeling that grossness more than the person's actually putting it out. The person is just putting out a little impulse. This person has it within them, so they recognize it, and then it rises up inside of them. So judgment is gross. It's morose. It's icky. It's disgusting. That's part of the ego mind. Anything it does is usually pretty gross. I mean, look what it does in relationships. I mean, when two people fall in love, there's not a whole lot of headspace in it. There's just a good feeling, and they feel more alive. They want to be around this person. There's no, this is the reason why. I mean, there's none of that going on. It's just pure, right now, very spontaneous. Right? And then look what the mind does with that over time. Turns what used to turn you on into a monster. The person may not actually even be a monster, but your mind can turn them into one. You know, I've seen so many people who leave the one they're with because it's a monster, get out in the world, understand what a real monster actually is, and then realize that, whoa, this person's not a monster at all. This person's a saint. Right? It's not, has nothing to do with us. Our interpretations of other people's behavior are just basically our own behaviors. It's the way we react to them. It's our response. Is a behavior much like the one that we're presented with. You all have that kind of equal mental response. Right? When you respond to somebody outside of that context, it's a completely different experience. If you're coming energetically and they're coming mentally, you're going to have the more of the impact. Because you're present, which means you have more ability. To where they have words, and they're gonna, if you don't understand them, in the first 20 or 30, they're going to run out. When they run out, they're going to stand there with their thumb in their butt. I don't know what else to say. They won't be able to present you with an energetic reality of what the words are alluding to. Right? I have a tendency to just stop talking and look at people for a particular reason. Two beings, really? Is there two or is there just one? We are all, just expressions. That's what this is. What are you expressing? What are you expressing to the world? When you squeeze your lemon, what kind of juice flows into the world? Is it bitter or is it sweet? Is it uplifting? Does it feel alive? Or is it bland, tasteless? There's one thing I'm very thankful for. And because of other people have accepted limits, how far they will go within their own being, you don't have to follow those. Just because people have them, there's no law that says you're restricted at a certain point. The only thing that's restricting that is your battle with yourself. The access is for everyone. It doesn't matter how handicapped anybody might think that someone is.